In the entire time leading up to Antman and the Wasp Quantumania, all I heard was how Jonathan Majors' Kang the Conqueror was not only one of the best MCU villains of all time, but one of the best cinematic villains, period. Even for people who didn't particularly like the film, Kang was looked at as a silver lining, and the one thing in this movie worth praising. But now that I've seen him for myself, I'm questioning where all this praise is coming from. Let's discuss.
Our content sucks. Our content sucks.
I watch so you don't have to.
Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Spoilers ahead, so if you haven't seen Antman and the Wasp Quantumania, you have been warned. It's no secret that everything from the MCU post-Endgame has been largely underwhelming. Even some of your most loyal MCU diehards would agree to that. A lot of people question whether or not this franchise should have continued after Endgame at all. You see, movies can't be treated in the same manner that comics are treated, that being it's a never-ending story. Movies, or a series of movies, are much more effective when they have a beginning, a middle, and an end point.
That makes sense.
And Endgame could have and should have been that endpoint, because everything since then has felt like nothing more than glorified filler. But reports have now surfaced that Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios have heard some of the complaints about Phase 4, and that they are going to correct these mistakes in Phase 5 and moving forward, all in an attempt to get people interested again who are starting to check out.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
And the character of Kang the Conqueror is supposed to be a big part of making this new MCU feel like the MCU of old. Quantumania writer Jeff Loveless spoke about Kang's introduction into the MCU, and this was prior to this film's release, saying, quote, "Obviously Thanos is a great iconic villain, but he's also a big CGI purple guy. He's an alien from outer space. The thing I wanted to lean into is that Kang is a human being." Now, not only did this writer kind of downplay Thanos' impact by calling him a big CGI purple guy,
Me, right?
which is not all that surprising because most of the people writing for Marvel Studios don't seem to have a lot of respect for the source material, especially when you take into account how many times they've gone out of their way to mock characters. That was actually the case in this very movie. I'm looking at you, MODOK.
What the hell am I looking at? When does this happen in the movie?
But the fact that this writer needed to put down Thanos in order to build up Kang should have been a massive red flag going into this movie, and it should tell us that Kang might not be as formidable as people are saying he is. This is not just Marvel, this is a common tactic used in modern Hollywood. Put down what came before to make the new character look better. He went on to say, "I really wanted to introduce the humanity and even the vulnerability of this character before he gets to such apocalyptic Avengers scale heights."
Whoopie do. Hey, I'm impressed.
Well, they certainly made him look vulnerable in all the worst ways, but more on that in a moment. In reference to the character's humanity, I can only assume this is in reference to his time with Janet's character early in this film. A part of the movie that I did mention was decent, but did feel a bit rushed. And because of that, the impact wasn't there when Kang's true nature was revealed. And these two allies now have to go their separate ways. Yes, he has very human flaws and emotions, but that doesn't automatically make him relatable or interesting.
Why do you cry?
It's how those flaws are presented to us as an audience that matters. And honestly, this portion of the story where we are supposed to be getting to know Kang wasn't all that impactful. And that issue falls squarely on the shoulders of the writing team. He continues, "Kang is a top-tier A-list Avengers villain." He said, quote, "How do you step up to face the challenge of this generation, who is Thanos on an exponential level? He's almost this infinite Thanos." Now, not only is this using the character of Thanos to sell us on Kang, which doesn't really do much for Kang, but he's also reinforcing one of the biggest cardinal sins that the MCU typically commits. That being, these movies are all about telling us they are about something without actually showing us.
You didn't see that coming.
And what do I mean by that? Well, in Quantumania, they are desperately trying to establish Kang as a threat without really putting in the legwork. They do this by playing the pronoun game, and having the other characters lazily tell us about all the horrible things he has done. We are told about him killing Avengers in alternate timelines, and conquering other worlds, but we never see any of those things play out. Telling me that someone is an Avengers level threat and making me believe that he is one are two very different things.
Man, I'm tired of being right.
And I'm sorry, based on what I saw of Kang in this movie alone, he is nowhere near as formidable as Thanos was. Thanos had like, what, a 6-year build or something like that? Now Marvel Studios is trying to tell me that this guy is worse, using his name alone and some lazy exposition. This is not how you build strong villains that are intended to be a major part of your film arc going forward. I'm sorry, but one appearance in Loki, which not a lot of people watched, and this movie isn't going to do it.
I don't care!
The other part to Kang's mystique where they missed out was he could have used some work on his physical presence, which should have been the easiest part to establish about him because it's mostly visual. Quantumania comes down to a 3-on-1 fight between Kang versus Ant-Man, his daughter, and Wasp. And it goes a step further when a weakened Kang goes 1-on-1 with Ant-Man, and the all-powerful Kang loses these duels somehow.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Now, if this character is supposed to be the next big thing, and the best part about this movie according to some, and he still might be, how do you allow him to be defeated by 3 of the weakest characters in the MCU in his very first real appearance? This was completely ridiculous in every way, and it doesn't really say much for his chances against a full-fledged Avengers team. Albeit an Avengers team made up of mostly secondary heroes, but the point remains. Now, I already saw people making excuses for this because of course they are. Saying this will make Kang more dangerous because now he will not underestimate his enemies. Now, I'm no expert on the art of war, but it seems like someone who has conquered as many worlds as they are telling us he has would already know that. It's honestly too late for these kind of retroactive excuses and trying to make sense of things that have no sense.
That's right, it stinks!
In reality, he's been shown to be more than vulnerable, especially in a fight. This is very similar to Kylo Ren getting beat by Rey an hour after she learned what the lightsaber was. Now, I'm not making a comparison with the skill levels of Rey and Ant-Man, but it does kind of ruin some of the mystique around the villain moving forward, does it not? And I'm supposed to take this character seriously after all of this.
No, don't like that.
I think that Quantumania actually did more damage to the character of Kang than it did help it. And to be clear, that's not Jonathan Majors' fault. He did the best with what he had. The blame for this falls on Marvel Studios and its writers. They dropped the ball. And these are the same writers, by the way, that are writing the next Avengers movie, The Kang Dynasty. And it sounds like that movie could be DOA creatively already. I think the overwhelmingly positive reaction to Kang has everything to do with the MCU creating mostly forgettable villains up until this point. So when one comes along that might appear to be halfway decent, people will latch onto him because they need something to believe in. They want to believe that the MCU is returning to its former glory. People are reacting to the potential of this character rather than what we're actually seeing on screen in Quantumania. Because what we actually saw is being overhyped, overrated, and is once again doing a disservice to the future of the MCU. Because the longer Marvel Studios thinks they are doing a good job, the longer we will have to endure mediocre content.
Y'all be cool. Nah.